Had to find the mute button. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're going to talk about our Lean experience. So just give me a second here. All right. So Eric's going to introduce us.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we're Gem Cabinets, as Avel's mentioned. We've been around for almost 45 years now here in Edmonton. We're part of the CHBA, and we deal with about 350 builders around the Edmonton area and a little bit north of that. We also do quite a bit of renos here in the city. We take you right from design all the way to install. Gem Cabinets is about 700 kitchens a month, and then about 300 for our newly acquired company, Kitchen Craft. We do a small amount of manufacturing. We've got a shop with about 12 employees with a pretty large spray booth. So we do a lot of hood fans or customizations for cabinets that come in from our manufacturers. In Montelco, they do about 75% of the cabinets that we design and install. They're based out of Vancouver, so supply chain's been a bit of an issue now with the Coca-Cola, but that's all right. We also have Urban Effects. They're out of Winnipeg. We also have a Home Pro line, which is a supply-only ready-made cabinets that we get from Urban Effects. We also have Cabico out in Montreal, Elmwood in St. Catharines, and then as well, Kitchen Craft has their line out of Winnipeg as well. We also work with Cabinet Doors and More and Eurorite, so quite a bit of people to reach out to. So yeah, that's Gem Cabinets. So let's take you through the agenda really quick. So we're going to start kind of our before Lean journey, moving towards our during Lean, and then our future state of after Lean. So we're just kind of go through the whole process before and after.
So when I started at Gem before Lean, we just had mountains of paper everywhere. We were relying on the paper to trigger all of our tasks, and multiple people had to touch all of these files at every step, and every step waited for the one before, and nothing was able to happen in parallel. And we were really, really, really productive. You know, every day we got through all this paper, but we didn't really produce more value. You know, so that was an issue.
So starting from before Lean, I have a story from when I first started in the warehouse. We have a small process where any of our cabinets that come off our trucks that have glass doors that need glass inserts, we take them off and we uninstall the doors so we can send them to our glass team to put glass into. And so this process is pretty painful. Taking the cabinets off the truck, we put them just to the side on the ground. And when I first got there, they told me, get on your hands and take a drill and take these glass doors off, which I guess I was pretty young at the time, but it was really painful on the knees to just be on, concrete and trying to put my head inside a cabinet. It was terrible. And so eventually I started to complain about it. Like, oh, this is, hurts my knees, hurts my back. Like, why am I doing this? And I just kept getting told, oh, you're young. We've been doing it this way forever. We used to have older guys do it all the time. You should be able to handle it, no problem. And it just really made no sense. We were scratching cabinets on the ground because unwrapping them, they're just, a painted cabinet sitting on, concrete. And yeah, it just was not a very smart process. A lot of motion waste, transportation waste, taking these doors to a different station to wrap up later. It made no sense. It was honestly, even after lifting cabinets, that was the worst part of working in the warehouse, was doing something like that. It just not very smart. And no matter how many times I seemed to bring it up that it, was awkward, unsafe, and it didn't make any sense to do it that way, I just got told this is the way we've been doing it for a long time, and don't question why we do it. So yeah, that's Lean. So definitely not ideal at all. So during Lean, I wasn't part of the first yellow belt group, but I saw the change in managers pretty fast. They were asking stakeholders what processes needed to change or fix what bugs us. And the glass door process came up. They brought it up to stakeholders. We brought in even more pains that we were facing, like rewrapping these cabinets afterwards was challenging. wrapping the doors as well and making sure that they got to our glass guy, all on, because sometimes there's multiple glass doors per job, so making sure they all got there together was a bit of a pain. So after working with the stakeholders, doing some Gembas, we realized that we can actually just get the manufacturers to send those glass doors separate from the cabinet, and they were already wrapped beautifully. So as soon as they came off the truck, we just put our PO on it and send it to the glass guys, and we're no longer using that motion waste, transportation waste. The risk of damage, we weren't handling it, just went way down. So yeah, it was a win for the manufacturer and us. They got confused why we were even doing that anyways. But yeah, so that was one of the experiences I remember from when Lean was first in. We had managers actually coming to us versus them telling us, oh no, we've been doing it this way forever. They're asking us, hey, how can we make this better for you? What are some pains you're facing? So I just remember that from the start of Lean, which was really impactful for sure.
So I also have a journey of before Lean. Our leadership approached this problem where we have, installing accessories like garbage bins, cutlery trays, things like that, and minor repairs. So sometimes something comes off a truck that went over some train tracks or a pothole and stuff was damaged. So the leadership would meet, they would debate, they would make decisions without asking anybody, and they would do this for hours, over weeks and months. And the logic was you ship it out complete and perfect so that the installer just has to screw it into the wall. And only the shop is qualified to do this work. They have the tools, they're the cabinet makers, they need to do this work. There was no way we could ship something out that was unfinished or damaged. You can't pass on a defect, right? So the process developed into a lot of paperwork and a lot of software automation. This lady in the warehouse, Sarah, she had to prepare the job in the software, print off the paperwork before the truck came. Then when the truck came, they would pull that product out, put it in the staging area for the shop, and then the shop would do the work. They would take everything apart, put the stuff in, wrap it all back up, and then put it back in the warehouse. Stuff would get lost or missed or not shipped, or it wasn't working. I mean, the logic was there. The leadership, they had sound logic, from a high level looking down, but it just never solved the problem. It just moved the problem around. So once we asked the stakeholders in the shop who were going through FPT training at the time, they came up with this simple board. So we have this is all the things we have to do. These are the ones that we're working on, and these are the ones that are done. So here's an example of one with a broken top. This little board, it eliminated all the paperwork and the software. It was a personal triumph for me because I'm all software solutions. That's kind of what I do all day, is I configure software to work through workflow stuff. And I just personally hate paper, just from all of my experience with mountains of it. And this cut out so many steps that stuff was getting done within 4 hours instead of 2 to 3 days. So it was a big win for everyone. Everyone was feeling really good about it at the time. However, it didn't really solve the problem. It kind of just highlighted a whole bunch of new ones. We found out that people really still love their paperwork, especially in the shop and the warehouse. So we reverted to producing the paperwork again. And when we followed up with the stakeholders during our next meeting, their new complaint was, well, I worked through my break to get this stuff done and it just sat there. Like I walk by it every day and I can see it. It's just sitting there. So there was overproduction and people were just generally unhappy. So we asked them for solutions. And the resounding response was no surprise. It was like, just make it clear what I have to do so I can plan my day. So we improved it again to sort the paperwork by whether the orders were booked or not. This, caused a different problem. Product was piling up that wasn't even touched yet. And it was in the staging area, and the staging area was just overflowing because this stuff wasn't booked yet. But, it came off the truck and it's got to get done. We don't want to put it away until it's done. So that improvement opened everybody's eyes, all the FPTs that we had. Sarah, who is the girl creating all this paperwork, she's in this picture here. She's like, instead of making the paperwork, how about I just do it myself? Can you just teach me how to do it? It can't be that hard, you know? Sometimes it's just a bead of silicone and 4 screws. So I can learn how to do that. I'm pretty smart. And the shop guy said, hey, here you go. If I don't have to do it, I'll teach you. So we started cross-training the warehouse staff to actually do this work. But, you know, everything still had to wait. So if this, like at the time, all the product was coming off the truck and it was going right on the next truck to go out because, you know, lead times had been extended and we were just trying to get stuff out the door. So everything still had to wait to get repaired. You can see she's trying to repair a broken back in this one cabinet. But luckily, since we were all going through FPT training, we started learning about SMED. So we decided to use this as one of our SMED events.
So working through each step, how long each one takes, and identifying the waste, helped us realize that passing on the defect might not be the worst idea if we improve the flow. We might be increasing our per hour cost, but we improve flow, decrease motion, transportation, extra processing, extra production, non-utilized talent by giving this to installers. So now instead of having to try to fix the cabinets inside the warehouse, we just pass the defect off to the installers, who are the ones that really are the best at fixing this kind of stuff. Oftentimes when cabinets get damaged, they come out of square. And sometimes our shop's not really realizing that until you're actually installing the cabinet that it's not in square anymore. So a lot of stuff we were fixing had to get refixed on site anyway. So doing it twice didn't make any sense. And we didn't always hear about the times it was getting made twice. Lots of times installers would just fix the problem and not really write it down. So just an extra few minutes. Yeah, the SMED event really helped us identify these wastes here. And yeah, we didn't really like the idea of passing off the defect, but we were able to deliver our cabinets a lot quicker. Our turnaround time was faster. Instead of waiting on the shop or potentially missing the cabinet altogether going for delivery, we just improved flow so much. So value of the change. So doing this SMED event really helped us go forward. Normally we would have given up on something like this before Lean with this accessory install. After giving it to the warehouse and realizing that it wasn't perfect, we probably would have just reverted back to going to, oh, you know, we used to do the shop, that worked before, let's just continue to do that. So often we would reach this dip in this little valley here, this picture on our PowerPoint. But we knew there was a future state we needed to be in. Lean had taught us that. Avell encouraged us to kind of keep pushing, and that's after doing this SMED event where we got to just passing it off to the installers. Yeah, Avell really helped us with that, and our empowered employees really continued to make the push. That was another reason why sometimes we give up, is employees were tired of trying to think of a new solution. They thought once we came up with one and it didn't work, there must not be a real answer, so let's just send it back to the shop. So yeah, it's really solved our pain having installers do this, and it just gets done correctly, which is also important. Adds more value to our customers.
Yeah, even though it might cost more per hour for an installer to do it, you know, they get $50 an hour, whereas the girl in the warehouse is going to get 20. So you know, financially it doesn't make sense, but it does.
For sure.
So now we've gone through Lean. We created a process team, Eric and I, you know, I'm the high green gold and he's the high orange blue. So we have complementary skills. We do weekly Gembas and waste walks, and we only set up meetings with the leaders if it's something that we can't make a call on our own. But we've been empowered to pretty much go forth and be lean. We involve stakeholders every week in fixing the things that bog them, you know, 5S. And then Eric reports to the leadership in their weekly meetings with our accomplishments and our wins, and to celebrate with them. So that's working really well for us. In the picture here, we just set up a Kanban kind of board in the warehouse last week. So these guys can start staying on task and figuring out what to do next without running to the manager. What do I do next? What do I do next? So it's actually helping them with their flow too. This is one of our most recent improvements. And I think Darcy came to Eric about this.
So Darcy explained a pain to me during one of our Gembas that our shops, of course, still does some custom work with cabinets that come off the truck before they go out for delivery. But one of Darcy's pains was he couldn't find a lot of the cabinets. The shop, like we have multiple shop people, so they would fix a cabinet and put it maybe in a different spot than the last shop employee. So Darcy would be running around trying to find this cabinet to make sure it got staged for delivery. That was a huge pain for him. He also didn't know when things were done, so he would have to walk over to a different area of the warehouse and try to look up if this cabinet had been done. But the turnaround time for it to be completed on the computer was not very fast. He was really struggling with trying to find these cabinets all the time. So he suggested that we take it to the stakeholders. So they came up with the board here on the left, which Kristina will now explain because she also had some further improvements that they made after this one.
So basically, the idea was everything on this board is sitting right behind it. We got 5 bins behind it. It tells you, okay, this order has something in bin 4. So you know to go to bin 4 to look for that thing. But it didn't really tell you how many items were in that bin or what you're looking for. So we had the paperwork on the right that kind of says, okay, the rushes are, up here. So you could grab the rush paperwork, look through it, and try and figure out what you're looking for. But that seemed to be really inefficient and wasting time. So the stakeholders together came up with the board on the right. So now they're using colored pens and they're putting how many items are in each bin. So it's just easier to find the stuff that you need. However, we're identifying overproduction again. As you can see, that board is completely full. So maybe that stuff wasn't really a rush. You got a couple red ones on there that have been there for 2 days. Maybe we're not doing stuff on time or whatever. So all the blue ones that are there are technically flagged for shipping. So those should just get put away with the kitchens. But, the warehouse is like, I'm just going to leave it there till I pull it for shipping instead of putting it away. So if you guys have any ideas of how we could incentivize and gamify this a bit so the warehouse will just put the stuff away, then we are open to your ideas. And then we just have one more here.
So we have a couple current struggles currently. I'm sure many of you have faced some supply chain issues. We've had quite a few, and more recently with the Vancouver floods, our main supplier has no road access currently to get to us, so that's a new struggle. But even outside of that, with COVID, supply and demand has just really thrown off our supply chain, so we're quite delayed on cabinets. We have lots of back orders as well. We're getting a lot of half kitchens, which we never used to get, so I don't know if that's likely a COVID issue. But yeah, just as a company in the last 6 months or so, our supply chain back orders, extended lead times has been quite painful. So Kristina and I figured a few of you have probably had some similar pains at your organization. So we thought we would just see if you guys have tried anything or what you guys are doing to minimize the pain from supply chain issues and back orders. Just thought, if you guys had any tips or tricks that you guys could let us know.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So I want to thank everybody for listening to us. And yeah, let us know if you have any feedback for us. We are always willing to do a plus delta with everyone.